Barry read a poem about poets, so I'm going to read my poet poem. I've never, ever read this in public, so please bear with me. Titled, oddly enough, The Poet. Some days a poet is like a street drunk, begging for a few good lines and a simple image, perhaps a bowl of oranges or the smell of deep-fried fish in summer, the sound of ice cracking beneath a man's boots. But then the image comes. It is not enough. He wants another, and a few more lines about the man he might have been, if only the stars had aligned differently, if only his mother had gone to law school or become a cosmetologist. You see them everywhere, their chins propped on their fists, their eyes straining to see truth slant, as Emily Dickinson put it. Which is why most wear glasses. And those who don't suffer withdrawal headaches, like the addicts they would be if not poets, snorting their high-grade lines through a straw, purely for the high. Kathleen talked about driving, so I've got a couple of driving poems to read. A number of years ago, while on a sabbatical leave from the school where I taught, I took a driving trip across US 6 from Cleveland to Providence, Rhode Island. My original plan was to go all the way to Provincetown, but I decided that Providence was a much better metaphor. So I stopped. And the poems that I wrote during that sabbatical were published then in a little chapbook called On US 6 to Providence, another creative title. So I'm going to read two poems from that collection. They will also be in the new book. This is a poem that I wrote while staying at the Black Walnut Inn in Milford, Pennsylvania. Do you know Milford, Pennsylvania? Warren knows all these places that I've never been. Very lovely place. I like the town a lot. But he told me this story about the timing of my visit. It was just a little bit too late, unfortunately, and this explains why. In Milford, the Black Walnuts, says the owner of the Black Walnut Inn, fell early this year, as did the leaves, 3 days before I arrived. A cold shock. It seems to him the squirrels climbed the trees and snipped the stems to make the walnuts fall to the wood deck below, cracking open their green outer skins and staining the deck, making it a mess to clean. Some days, this seems the way with everything. That evening, I eat my dinner in town before a splintering fire and think no more about the early nuts, the stains they leave, their green skin, the hard shell that guards the meat that is so prized. Not until 3 days later, stopped in a 4-mile line of traffic, not knowing the cause, whether road work or a tipped-over truck, or squirrels chewing the stems on which we hang everything. Ooh, got a little bit of a throat. My own poems don't usually do that. This is a true story, and I dare anyone to prove otherwise. I spent a night in Smethport, Pennsylvania. No ahs of recognition. And went to a nice little restaurant and had dinner there and had this experience. This poem is titled Another Reason Why Nothing Surprises Me. It is always Christmas in Smethport, Pennsylvania. What with America's first Christmas store open all year, what with the Christmas Inn and the Christmas auction at the fire hall, even the cat lying on the porch of the Cottage House restaurant tonight wears a Christmas collar. I ask the waitress about this Christmas fascination. She only shrugs as if I have asked her to solve a problem using long division or name a foreign capital. Instead, she talks about her grandfather, who hand-painted the dozens of lawn displays that rise every year in the town's front yards. Ghosts from mid-November dew. Then I hear two women and a man. This is the true part. Then I hear two women and a man at a corner arranging a ménage à trois. The women purr and the man's eyes dance, as they surely must have done when he was a boy, and his father hoisted him into his lap to read The Night Before Christmas. Then hurried him off to bed to sleep, as Santa sailed through the splintering dark and tunnels of snow, off to dream of Christmas in perpetuity. Another hope too brittle ever to utter out loud. I've lost my list. I'll just read a couple more here. My wife told me when I was coming here tonight that I was not permitted to take the cap on and off.
She's not here.
We used to have this huge oak tree beside our house, which we loved very much, but unfortunately it was pushing its roots into the foundation, and it would drop huge branches on our roof every winter, and so we took it down in stages, but eventually we had to take the whole thing down. And this is a poem about that experience, titled Debris. After the storm, we walked where walls had stood, doors, a staircase, towed rubble that was china and cane chairs. This was the kitchen, that was the den. We breathed in whole neighborhoods of plaster and plumbing, contagion. Nearby, a chainsaw sputtered to a start. We stood, casual as strays, and watched a man, his sleeves rolled up, encase himself in a chrysalis of sawdust. How enviable is the patience of a moth in the midst of metamorphosis. I'll read one more poem. Even though it is not winter, I plan to read this poem. It's dedicated to my wife because I expected her to be here tonight, but she's been sick for several weeks and just couldn't make it. So I'll read it anyway. She's a third grade teacher at Lakewood, and I actually wrote this poem after working with her third grade students one year on writing poetry. And they helped me with the first couple of lines, and then I took it home and finished the rest. A winter song. Let the pond ice. Let the sidewalks drift. The arthritic trees point skyward. Let the cars sleigh into this year's end. Their headlamps divulge a foot or two of future. Let us bundle ourselves against bitter air and sing the bawdiest songs we know. And let us dance, love, our steps sure steps, to the rhythm of a cricket's wings. when all is still, the lovely music of too brief life. Thank you.